Welcome back. You're still watching The Globe. Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi has warned Ethiopia of the risk of conflict over its giant dam on the Blue Nile after talks involving the two countries, along with Sudan, ended without progress. The Great Renaissance Dam on the Nile has been under construction since 2011.
Abdel Fattah al-Sisi was speaking after talks between the two countries and Sudan over the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam failed to make any progress. Egypt is concerned about the impact of the dam on its supply of Nile waters, and Sudan is worried about its own water flows. At the opening of a new government complex, Sisi said, "I am telling our brothers in Ethiopia, let's not reach a point where you touch a drop of water from Egypt, because all options are open." Referencing past regional conflicts, Sisi added that the costs of such confrontations were known. Egypt and Sudan were coordinating, he said, adding that cooperation and agreement were better than anything else. Sudan's irrigation minister Yasser Abbas also warned on Wednesday that all options are open, and said it was no exaggeration that the dam affects Sudanese national security. Sudan is already locked in a border dispute with Ethiopia. On Tuesday, Egypt accused Ethiopia of a lack of political will after the talks in Democratic Republic of Congo and ahead of a second filling of the dam this summer. Ethiopia is pinning its hopes of economic development and power generation on the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, and it said it could not enter into an agreement that infringed on its rights to use the Nile. Ethiopia's water minister Selesi Bekele had no comment on Sisi's statement, but said they were utilising water from Ethiopia for our dire need, without causing significant harm to their neighbours.
A surface mount technology project in Nairobi between Gearbox and global firm Europcar could enable businesses to have key parts manufactured in Kenya as opposed to China and India.
Latif Chirono works at what just might be a factory of factories. He's running a test on a so-called surface mount technology line being set up at the Gearbox Hub in Nairobi, Kenya. SMTs print electronic components onto circuit boards. The boards then end up as IoT, or Internet of Things devices that help manage the network of software, sensors, and hardware in many modern products. Tech advancements like IoT, artificial intelligence, and robotics are part of what's known as the Fourth Industrial Revolution. The SMT is a joint venture with global manufacturer Europaysa. It will enable businesses to have their boards manufactured in Kenya as opposed to China and India. Cherono, who is the Gearbox Europaysa electronics manufacturing manager, sees growth opportunities for sub-Saharan Africa within it.
Kenya has certain things that have made this to be the right time. We look at our youth. We have a wide foundation of youth that are trained in electronics, mechatronics engineering. We have a wide range of youth trained in software engineering. We have mobile money in Kenya and East Africa is pervasive. It's everywhere.
Industrialization and manufacturing are estimated to contribute 10% to the East African country's GDP. Engineer Kamau Gashigi, who founded Gearbox, wants to help grow those two sectors further.
We see ourselves as a factory of factories. So we'd be really happy if 10 years from now, there are hundreds or even thousands of factories that have emanated from ideas that were crystallized in our space.
The hub has been commissioned to train and launch around 30,000 technicians into the market, and sealed a deal for mentees to build 28,000 smart greenhouses over 5 years. The teams will have full use of the hub during the manufacturing process and ownership of the crops. The wider goal is to have a network of hubs or factories like this so that they can move their manufacturing capacity into other areas like agriculture and medical innovation.
Strikes in Nigeria are threatening to overwhelm a number of sectors there, including hospitals and the judiciary. Over the past week, Africa's biggest economy has seen a succession of unions start indefinite strikes in quick succession. Resident doctors have been striking since the beginning of the month, demanding better benefits for increased risk of working in the front lines during a pandemic. On Tuesday, members of the judiciary, lecturers at polytechnics and some civil servants also started industrial actions. Their demands vary from wanting financial autonomy for the courts to unpaid salaries. The strikes come at a time for the Nigerian government as President Muhammadu Buhari is currently out of the country for a medical checkup. Nigerian human rights activist and senior advocate Femi Falana is joining us now from Lagos via Zoom to share his thoughts on what's unfolding in his country. Thank you so much indeed for joining us. Welcome to the program. Good to talk to you again.
Thank you very much.
So all of these strikes happening at the same time, do they point to one bigger problem in the country generally?
Well, it is by coincidence that the strikes are taking place at the same time, particularly the strike by the resident doctors as well as the judicial workers. Each of these unions have gone on strike before now, but because of the failure of the government to honor agreements reached with them, that is the basis of this strike. Unfortunately, you have the COVID-19 pandemic, which is being attacked at the same time. Doctors are on strike. And to really annoy the public is the fact that the very day the strike of the doctors began, was when the president jetted out to the United Kingdom for medical treatment, which itself is a disgrace to the country. After 60 years, that you still cannot fix hospitals in the country. A few hospitals where the rich or the president and the elite can take care of themselves. So it's a very, very embarrassing situation. With respect to the judicial workers, again, they've gone on strike about 3 times in the past, whereby they have demanded for judicial autonomy. Financial autonomy for the judiciary. Apart from the clear provision of the Constitution, there are 2 judgments of the court to defer that the government must allow financial autonomy for the judiciary. Again, you have a ruling class, a political class that has contempt, absolute contempt for the rule of law, and that is what has caused the strike there. But apart from that, the country is actually in a worse situation. You have counter-insurgency operations being waged in the northeast against terrorists. In the northwest, you have bandits, and the rest of the country, you have kidnappers, and the security architecture of the neo-colonial state has virtually collapsed in the sense now that people are kidnapped, and the government is at the mercy of bandits and kidnappers and other nihilist forces, So all these are happening at the same time, and it gives the impression that there is no security of life and property that can be guaranteed in any part of the country. And this is very worrisome, very, very worrisome.
So in Owerri recently, 1,800 inmates were freed by gunmen using rockets and explosives, looting a police station. I mean, this sounds like a war zone. And Nigeria is not a small country, big army, a very powerful police force. How can this happen?
Well, some investigation will have to be carried out because there are many questions that are unanswered. Even on that very night, the criminal elements staged a show. They had a protest in front of the governor's house for about 30 minutes where they sang songs, including solidarity songs. before embarking on the attack on the prison. And of course, there was no resistance whatsoever. And this operation lasted for about 2 to 3 hours. And after the operation, after releasing 1,300 prison inmates, these guys left and no arrest has been made. And since then, you know, police stations have been attacked. Again, no arrests have been made, and which actually suggests that this may be a case of, you know, internal sabotage on the part of the security force, because what has happened cannot be justified, in any country where there is law and order. And that is why we are saying there are more questions, you know, to be answered by the government and the security forces.
President Buhari, I remember as he was campaigning to become president, particularly the first time out, he talked about dealing with the security issues in the country. He's a former soldier, and people thought that he would know how to then manage the country. Are we saying that he has failed in his mandate?
People have thought that as a retired general, and you know, in line with his own campaign, that this is a familiar terrain for me. I should be able to restore law and order in the country and deal with the insurgency in the Northeast. But apparently Nigerians have been deceived, and he is currently, it's very clear that the president is overwhelmed, and you know, there's no answer. Apparently the government is totally bereft of ideas on how to resolve this problem. And that's why people are calling on the government to step aside and allow Nigerians to determine their own fate as soon as possible.
How is it that a country which is a major oil producer in the world has a health sector that's so badly underfunded that there's some doctors who haven't been paid for 6 months?
Apart from that, you also have a situation whereby Nigeria, as a major oil-producing country, imports petroleum products, again to the shame of the country. So we have a ruling class that is totally unpatriotic and short-sighted, you know, visionless and irresponsible, to the extent that they cannot fix, they cannot resolve, they cannot address any of the problems confronting the country after 60 years of independence. And that is why you have workers who are not paid for months, which is a criminal offense under the law, you know. But again, this is the position in the country. And now it is very clear that the government in power has lost control of the economy, of security in the country. And once you cannot guarantee law and order in a country, then the government is not fit to remain in power.
You're an advocate. This strike in the legal profession, how is that going to affect just getting justice and proceeding with the day-to-day business of the law?
Well, as you are jolly well aware, once the courts are shut down, you know, the justice sector is paralyzed. Prisoners or prison inmates will not have their cases heard. Civil cases are adjourned indefinitely. Again, it challenges, it questions the rule of law in the country, and it also affects those who may want to do business in the country, you know, because things are so unpredictable, you know, and that is why, and so far, nobody is addressing the problems that led to this strike by judicial workers, which means it may last several days or weeks. To the detriment of the rule of law.
Who do you think is running the country at the moment? Because the...
Nobody. Because the president traveled without handing over to the vice president to act, you know, in his place. And so nobody is running the country. Nobody.
But this surely can't carry on.
No country can carry on this way. I mean, the president is on medical leave abroad, is taking care of himself, you know, even those statements are issued in his name, but clearly he's not in control of the country. and having not handed over to the vice president to administer the country in its absence, where we are calling for anarchy, as it were, and we're already witnessing a chaotic situation in the country.
Are you fearful that the country may start to see social unrest? It wasn't that long ago that people were striking and protesting and got shot for their troubles by the notorious police unit and the army, I'm told.
No, what is going on now? What is going on is a war situation where you have terrorists, bandits, kidnappers, abductors, all of them having a field day while workers are also on strike. So there is a general paralysis in the country. General paralysis in the country. And there is no solution in sight. And that is why this is becoming very worrisome, you know.
Do you think citizens will take to the streets?
Well, many citizens are already on the street, but this may eventually lead to a major protest in the country. Because right now we have refugees across the border, you know, in Benin Republic, in Cameroon, in Niger Republic, you know, and this is totally unacceptable. Nigeria has abundant human and natural resources to fix the problems confronting the country. But right now, the government in power is totally incapable to address the problems confronting the country. And the problems are mounting. The problems are mounting.
Okay. Advocate Femi Falana, we're going to have to leave it there, but thank you very much indeed for joining us this evening and sharing your thoughts about the concerning situation in your country. Thank you.